This video is sponsored by SHOUJO SUNDAE, the best podcast for shoujo fans. Learn more during the commercial break. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Magical Girl video. Today we'll be looking at a handful of retro anime that greatly influenced the magical girl genre, despite only 1 out of the 5 having any sort of modern relevance. First, we need to look at the studio who made these shows, Studio Pierrot. You most likely know them now for their work on iconic anime like Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Tokyo Ghoul, but Pierrot wasn't always an anime powerhouse. Founded in 1972 by Yuji Nunokawa, the studio wouldn't start making their own anime until the 1980s. Within a few years, Studio Pierrot found itself with 2 hits on its hands, Urusei Yatsura, and their first magical girl series, Magical Angel Creamy Mami. I know what the title sounds like. I promise the show is really cute. Hear me out. Magical Angel Creamy Mami tells the story of a young girl named Yu. She's the energetic daughter of 2 crepe shop owners. When we first meet her, she's running away from her responsibilities to chase a flashing light she saw from her bedroom window. Before she leaves, she runs into her childhood friend and crush Toshio, who introduces her to his friend Midori, who has an obvious crush on Yu. Yep, we have a love triangle! Yu and Toshio have a love-hate dynamic that is an endearing reflection of their lack of maturity. They're kids who act like kids, and I appreciate that. Midori and Yu, on the other hand, have a very one-sided relationship. Midori is so infatuated with Yu, and she's just nice. Absolutely no feelings for him whatsoever. Anyway, episode 1 gives us an amazing chase sequence where the boys are trying to catch Yu. Midori knocks over a moving vehicle, and the police get involved? No one can catch this child? When she finally stops, Yu is enamored with this transparent ship. It causes some property damage and lifts Yu and Toshio into the air for a bit, before vanishing. As day turns to night, Yu continues to call out to the mysterious ship, which catches the attention of 2 cat-like creatures. This is Poji and the other one! When they confirm for sure that she can see the ship, they beam her up! Things get trippy during this part of the episode, as Yu spends her time floating around, slaying a dragon, and talking to aliens about a place called Feather Star. Because of this interaction, Yu is granted magical powers for 1 year. Toshio takes Yu home, and the way he looks back at her, hitting children was acceptable in this era, huh? I know she stayed out too late, but I'm glad spanking has become a less popular form of punishment. It's always seemed unusually cruel to me, coming from somebody who was spanked as a child. Y'all can debate amongst yourselves whether it's a valid form of discipline or not. I'm not here to have that conversation. Anyway, before she goes to bed, the cats show Yu how to use her magic powers. When she says the magic words, she becomes unrecognizable. With her new form, Yu not only finds herself with new power, but potential fame. Using the alias of Creamy Mami, she is scouted by Parthenon Productions president Shingo Tachibana to become a new top idol. The reason this show focuses a lot on the idol industry and replays Mami's songs every episode is because this show was made to promote the new idol Takako Ota, who is Yu's voice actress. Takako Ota had a very successful career because of her start as Mami and continued to succeed long after the anime ended, and Creamy Mami helped popularize this form of idol promotion. Back to the anime, Shingo's obsession with promoting Mami starts a rivalry with Parthenon Productions' current top idol, Megami Ayase, who is presented as a total brat, and she can have some super unlikable moments. However, I'm here to defend her. I think the Mami vs. Megami rivalry gives Gabriella vs. Sharpay vibes. Hear me out. Imagine out of nowhere, a girl who has seemingly put 0 effort into the craft you've spent your whole life perfecting steals your spotlight and your man. Except unlike Troy, Shingo and Megami have a lot of history. The anime only hints at this, but the manga? Y'all are in for a treat when I get to that. These 2 are complicated. You know what else is complicated? Love squares. Mami is now in the equation despite her being Yu, but magic. Toshio adores Mami like a fanboy.
C-R-E-A
one knows Mami's true identity, which sets up some emotional conflicts where Yu questions her worth, as she's treated with more love, attention, and maturity as Mami, but Mami will never be her true self. The series does a great job at balancing Yu's personal life, her stardom as Mami, and the typical magical hijinks you'll find in most classic magical girl shows. Magical episodes typically deal with spirits or spells going wrong. Idol episodes deal with the typical film shoots, live performances, Mami's rivalry with Megami, and the work abuse that Hayato Kitakoro faces as Megami and Mami's manager. That man deserves a break. Yu-focused episodes typically showcase her personal relationships with characters like Toshio, or one of her friends like Mamoru. I really like these episodes as they give Yu a chance to shine without her Mami persona. She's a sweet kid who has gained wisdom through her magical adventures, but still has a lot of growing up to do. I first watched this show when I was a freshman in high school, and it's one of the series that really kickstarted my love for magical girls. The episodes I'm going to talk about before the finale are the ones I remember the most fondly. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually somewhat of a two-parter. Yu is yet again rather busy as Mami with the upcoming Pop Festival and all her other work. However, she also promised to hang out with Toshio and Midori as Yu, and she's beginning to mix up her lives, and Toshio becomes suspicious of Yu's behavior.
お前最近おかしいぞ。3人でパルテノンプロに行こうって言ったのに来なかったしさ。今まで約束破ったことなかったのに。
だから謝ったじゃない。
嘘つけよな。謝られた覚えはないぞ。
だからパルテノンプロで、大きな声出さないでよ。
The two end up arguing, and Toshio brings attention to her most prevalent insecurity, that Mami is better than her despite them being the same person.
そんなにマミがいいの？
ドキ。もちろん月とすっぽん。言うなんてさ、どう頑張ってもマミちゃんみたいにはなれねえもんな。
トシオちゃん。
The next day, Mami tells Hayato she doesn't want to perform at the Pop Festival, and this greatly upsets Shingo. It's actually Megami that helps Mami make up her mind by bringing her to a record signing. After that scene, we get a really cute moment of Toshio and Yu trying to call each other, but the lines are busy because they're calling at the same time. Oh, and Yu gets spanked again. Old school parenting had choices. Flash forward to the performance, Yu makes a risky move by transforming back to herself before she has to sing, in order to find Toshio. As he runs after her, Toshio witnesses Yu's iconic transformation into Mami, which is bad because with her identity being discovered, her magic has now been taken away. What's a magical girl show without secret identities, am I right? Episode 26 continues this conflict. Without her magic, Yu is afraid she won't be able to sing. Thoughts of Toshio run through her mind, but with the help of magical friends from past episodes, she's able to put on a wonderful performance. She even won a newcomer award. However, this brief moment of fun must come to an end, as now Yu has to figure out what to do with her magical predicament, as she might be stuck in her Mami form forever. Oh, and it's Christmas, so the thought of not being with her family ever again is greatly upsetting. Even though Christmas is more of a romantic thing in Japan, but whatever. As Toshio and Mami reunite, the cats have been able to find someone to bring the magic ship back to Earth. This time both Yu and Toshio get flown up. The little alien grants Toshio one wish, and he uses it to turn Mami back into Yu. Obviously, this is not where Yu's story as Mami ends, as she does get her powers back and gets a star tambourine, because what's a magical girl show without item switch-ups? But I like these episodes because it establishes, whether he admits it or not, that Toshio will always value Yu more than Mami, which is exactly what Yu needs to hear. She needed that validation, and without this conflict, she might never have gotten that confirmation. My favorite episode when I first watched the show is also Yu and Toshio centered. It's episode 32, Valentine's Day for just the two of us. Yu is making Toshio a treat for Valentine's Day. The night before, the cats inform Yu about these little love bubble angels that bless Valentine's gifts. Humans can't see them, but since Yu has magical powers, she can. The next day, Yu goes to Toshio's class and I'll just play the scene.
Toshio!
ゆう。
一気ね、まだ授業中か。
おっと、これは素晴らしいお客様だね。中等部へ何のご用かな？
はい、4年1組森沢優、幼馴染の大友敏夫君に用があってまいりました。
あのタコ。
ほう。で、用というのは？
あのね。
おー、ノーノーノー、声が小さい。聞こえないね。
はい。敏夫、今日何時に家へ帰るの？
もう、アホ、スカタ、こっぱずかしいだろ。
大友くん、お客様にご返事は？
アンサープリーズ。
3時頃。
聞こえないね。
3時頃だよ。
やった、3時ね。了解。
ご用はそれだけかな？
はい、どうも失礼しちゃいました。かわいい。箸を持ってる？
くそ、ゆうのタコ。
I love how chill the teacher is. He's an icon. However, Toshio repeats his previous actions of disregarding Yu and obsessing over Mami, because the show is mostly episodic and he's forgotten about Yu and Mami's shared identity. Ugh. So, Toshio gets a letter from Mami asking him on a date, and Yu obviously did not write that, which only upsets her more as Toshio insists that Mami is better. Yu tells Toshio that she is done with him for good. When Toshio goes to meet Mami, it turns out that the letter was from a girl his age who just happened to be named Mami. He rejects her, which leads to a sweet interaction between Yu and Mami when they realize they've both been heartbroken on Valentine's Day. These are the scenes that make me love this show and Yu as a character. This is girlhood! Despite Toshio's inconsiderate behavior, Yu just can't let him go and reminisces about one of their most precious childhood memories. The two used to play at an old church and made the attic of the building their hideout. As Toshio realizes how much of a jerk he's been, he thinks of where she might be. The two reunite and share the chocolate Yu made. So cute. Truthfully, I don't know why I liked this episode so much when I first watched the show. I remember thinking their childhood interactions were the cutest, and they are. But I was a little annoyed with Toshio in this episode. The two make up just as quickly as they argue. So immature, but so age-appropriate. They're stupid kids who care about each other, and I love that. So, remember when I complained that Toshio somewhat regresses as a character for a bit? Well, he attempted to plan ahead and recorded himself saying that Yu is Mami, in the hopes that if he did forget, he'd be able to remember and not forget their time together. Honestly, smart, good for him. After hearing his message, he goes to ask Yu about the events of December 23rd of the last year. That's my birthday! Yu remembers everything, but if Toshio remembers, she'll lose her powers. This worries her, but she'll need to find a way to manage until her final concert. However, suspicions only grow as he's caught up in Yu's typical lies to continue her career as Mami. For the next few days, Yu avoids Toshio, stays busy as Mami, and her parents become more upset with her late-night returns. Despite her efforts, Toshio is regaining his memory, and if he does, her beloved animal companions might not get to go home to Featherstar. Will Yu successfully say goodbye to her career as Mami with a final concert and see her alien cats off with a smile before Toshio remembers her double life? Let's watch the last episode. Episode 52 opens with a rainy venue awaiting Mami's arrival. Mami puts on an incredible, magical performance. She rides on a horse, jumps onto the stage, has magical costume changes, and sings her heart out as Poji and the other one dance alongside her. About halfway through the episode, the ship arrives and whisks Mami away. The crowd screams for Mami, and with some convincing, she's allowed to finish her performance before having to say goodbye. She absolutely slays. I love her outfit, and more importantly, I love her tearful goodbye with the cats. Throughout the series, they develop such a great bond with Yu. It's so bittersweet when they have to part. It makes me tear up with them! As she vanishes, Toshio finally remembers with confidence that Mami is Yu, and everyone returns to their lives, with only the memories of the magic they made. Truly, I understand why Creamy Mami is the most well-loved Studio Pierrot magical girl show. There's so much talent, love, and fun in the series. The music is catchy, the characters are endearing, and there is some stellar animation for the time. This is a certified magical girl classic, and if you haven't seen it, why are you still here? Go watch it! Creamy Mami was very successful and has a dedicated fan base to this day. Music videos, a Cinderella special, merchandise, and multiple manga series were made to keep the Mami hype going. So let me show you my collection. Hi, welcome to the item segment. This will be the only one for this video because Magical Angel Creamy Mami is really the only one that has a lot of merch. We know which one's the favorite. I'll go ahead and take this down, but it's just a little display board thing. It's very nice. I'll go ahead and talk about these little miniature magical items since they come with the board. All three of these and the board came in a set that I got from Big Bad Toy Store. It was about $100, which is honestly, for the quality, I would have paid a little less, but you know, imports. So I'm not mad about it. I just expected them to do a little more, but these are just like purely for display. There's a little bit of motion, like with the wand I keep fidgeting with. You can make it spin. Or the compact. There is a miniature version of the wand inside, and it's very cute. The little star tambourine doesn't do anything, but you know, it's cute. All of this is very cute, and I'm not mad about any of it. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about these. They're fine, they're cute, they're fun for display, but you can't really do anything with them, which I guess is the point. This is just purely for collectors, and that's cool. So yeah. Now we get to the cool stuff. First, let's talk about the manga. There are actually two different manga series for Mami. One is directly related to the original show, and the other is a prequel about Megami, detailing her rise to stardom, her relationship with Shingo, and her rivalry with Mami. Magical Angel Creamy Mami and the Spoiled Princess is a 7-volume josei series by Emi Mitsuki that started back in 2018. I'm obsessed with the story. Unfortunately, Volume 7 doesn't come out until a few days after this video will be published, so bad timing on my part. I'll keep this brief. The Spoiled Princess is basically Megami's origin story. She wasn't always a talented top idol, but Shingo knew what she could be, referring to her as his Milky Way princess. However, now Shingo thinks she's losing her star power, which Megami immediately slaps him for. They do that a lot. At the beginning, the manga portrays Shingo as cruel and controlling, but he wasn't always that way. I'm not going to delve too deep into every story here as it directly ties with the anime, but I do want to discuss Shingo and Megami's tale because it's by far the most interesting part of the series. Chapter 13 opens with a flashback of young Shingo and Megami. The idol we know looks like an insecure mess, and Shingo is kind of an ass. The young girl he saw crying looks like nothing significant, but she has the voice of an angel. Shingo has found his first star, and is going to make her into an idol. Shingo fights for Megami through every step of this process. He takes Megami over another girl named Ina who looks the part and comes from money, but has no talent. Watching the newly in charge Shingo and the inexperienced, gloomy Megami transform into the people we know in the Creamy Mami anime is such a treat, but also a little heartbreaking. Shingo sacrifices and struggles so he can show the world how magical Megami's talent is. In return, Megami works hard to make both their dreams come true. Watching them grow close only to know that they later grow apart is greatly upsetting. That's all I'm going to say about the Spoiled Princess for right now. If you like Creamy Mami or this drama interests you, please read it. Did you enjoy that summary? I sure hope you did because I didn't talk about it right now. That's Future Hope's problem. Now I get to talk to you guys about the art book from the 20th oh, it's the 30th. Now I get the pleasure of talking about the 30th anniversary art book. I'm pretty sure we're on like the 40th anniversary now, so this is quite old. This was one of my first Japanese imports. It's very special to me. I love Magical Angel Creamy Mami so much. But it comes with a DVD where you can watch like the little animated music videos that they made during this time that were like 3D. They were a little bit ugly, but you know, it was the vibe. It was the vibe then. And the book just has a bunch of production material talking about the episodes and fandom, how the show was made. Lots of really cool concept art. You also get to see a lot of detailed pieces that are just absolutely stunning. It's just a pleasure to look through, honestly. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm pretty sure all of the Studio Pierrot girls got some sort of art book that was like this. just Magical Angel Creamy Mommy's the most popular, so I have hers. Yep, there's those 3D models. This was a choice. This was an era. This was fun. I could talk a little more in detail if I knew Japanese, but I don't. Sorry. Regardless, this is such a cool piece to have in my collection, and I'm so happy with everything I have. Magical Angel Creamy Mommy is truly a special series, and if you haven't watched it already, I hope my video will convince you to. Now let's get back and talk about those other series. With the success of Creamy Mommy and her rival Minky Momo, Studio Pierrot decided to continue their magical girl escapades with Persia the Magic Fairy. Unlike Creamy Mommy, Persia's anime isn't idol-focused. Persia is a wild child raised in Africa.
So if you're from Africa, why are you white?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
Who has to move to Japan and understand the ways of Japanese life while getting into magical shenanigans. She has a lion turned house cat named Simba and 3 Kappa-like creatures who help her with her magical adventures. Unlike Mommy, the magic in this series is a bit more intense, as she has to collect love energy on Earth to help the world called Lovely Dream, which is currently frozen. However, if she fails to collect love energy or someone catches her using magic, the boys she loves most will turn into women.
What?
Yeah, let's talk about these bozos. Gaku and Riki are the grandsons of Murori Goken, who was a prominent doctor in Africa. He's a great influence for Persia, but his grandsons? Ugh. They're older copies of Toshio, but not as likable. Toshio can be annoying, but he had great chemistry with you. These guys? They have their good moments. I appreciate that they have subtle visual differences, but I honestly cannot tell them apart sometimes. They're both obnoxious. However, one of them has a girlfriend who is really nice. Her name is Sayo Mitomo, and she is nothing but kind to Persia, as she should be. I love her. Anyway, the one that isn't with Sayo is the one that's pushed to be with Persia. Kind of. I hate the idea of Gaku with Persia. They have a moment together that can be seen as sweet, but there is such a big maturity gap here. I don't know their specific ages, but Gaku and Persia for sure have a bigger gap than you and Toshio. Persia is a rambunctious child, and Gaku is an irritating teenager. I don't love it. Even her parents aren't as likable. Yu's parents had a couple of questionable moments, but they have such a good dynamic together and clearly love their child. Persia's parents love her too, but they're not as memorable. Persia is like a reverse Creamy Mommy. Yu is a standard main character with lots of memorable characters around her that allow her to shine. Persia is a star with or without the cast. She's wild, she's fun, she's a free spirit, and the rest of the cast cannot keep up. Simba, Sayo, and Grandpa are the only ones I will defend from this main cast. Okay, I'm done with the comparisons. Let's actually talk about the show. I don't know how to talk about this one because it's absolutely bonkers. Episode 3 is a perfect example of the kinds of stories the show likes to tell. Persia's home alone, and an escaped convict holds her hostage. The entire episode is the scary guy threatening Persia, and Persia being such a wild card that she thinks it's a game. She tortures this man, uses her magic to recklessly drive with this man, holds a gun to him. She's so crazy that he'd rather go back to jail. There's an episode where a guy tries to commit suicide, and Persia is so insane that she scares him more than death, I think. And another where Persia and the twins are held hostage in a church, so Persia tries to trick the criminals into thinking she's God, and when they catch her, she runs headfirst into a wall? What does this have to do with catching love? Or another one where this old man has a Peter Pan complex, and he forces Persia and the twins to play in his haunted mansion funhouse? This one is definitely on the sillier side of magical girl shows, and it can be so absurd that it's fun. I'm not mad about it, I'm just confused. Truth be told, Persia feels like Studio Pierrot's attempt to combine the already successful formula of Creamy Mommy with her competitor Minky Momo. I haven't seen a lot of Minky Momo, but it seems to have some very quirky episodes, and Persia straight up steals the whole career aspect of Minky Momo's magic. I don't think that's a coincidence, but Persia's backstory is so unique that I don't care. I love Persia. Stan Persia. I need a Persia figure. Thank you. There are some less extreme episodes. I enjoyed the ice skating episode. I thought that one was entertaining and had some great character moments for Riki. Truly, the show is episodic chaos until the final 4 episodes. Gulken is returning to Africa permanently to help prevent a disease from spreading. A noble cause. We stand. However, with his departure being permanent, Gaku decides to leave with his grandfather. The thought of life without Gaku leaves Persia absolutely heartbroken. But Gaku can't leave his aging grandpa alone in Africa. Such a serious conflict for such a silly show. Gaku decides to spend the day with Persia in order for her to have one last good memory with him before he leaves with his grandfather for Africa.
Persia, Persia 元気。こんなに元気ですのよ。
ペルシャ。
皆さん、こんにちは。ペルシャ、とっても元気ですのよ。だって、こんなことだって、こんなことだって平気でできますの。だから誰と別れてもちっとも寂しくなんかないんです。
This scene is so good! Oh my gosh, my heart! Episode 46 follows up with a choice.
Hello, Darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision, softly creeping, left its seeds. While I was sleeping...
That totally ruined the mood. I could not stop laughing when I heard this. Towards the end of the episode, Riki is the one who decides to go to Africa after Sayo says she hates selfish people, as he was only staying behind to play sports. Meanwhile, Gaku realizes he might have feelings for Persia, and runs to her house to tell her, unaware that she's in her transformed state. Episode 47 takes a brief detour with Persia's romance, and focuses on Fairy, the one we see give Persia her powers, and her human lover, Piano Man! I don't remember his name. Unfortunately, at this point in the series, Persia can no longer speak to Fairy, but she wants to find a way to reunite the two. When she attempts to use magic to bring the two together, she learns that it's forbidden for magical beings and humans to fall in love. Truthfully, I like this conflict a lot more than the main one, although I am concerned that Persia's mom doesn't seem to care that she's bringing a grown man into her bedroom. Yu's mother would have beat her for that. Anyway, while trying to help Kenji, Gaku ends up getting involved with the magical shenanigans. All three are now in lovely dream, which is still frozen. However, the fairy princess is awakening. She is finally reunited with her human love. Even if they can't stay together, Fairy gives a tearful goodbye, and the three are transported back to Persia's room. In the final episode, everyone has a goodbye celebration for Grandpa, but Gaku can't get the events of the previous episode out of his head. He has no idea how to approach Persia about what happened. I also assume the woman thing is off the table. Despite the various emotions, everyone has a good time. Once the party is over, the boys and Grandpa go to a hotel near the airport to get ready for an early departure the following day. The girls meet their guys for one last goodbye, and finally, they leave for Africa. Persia and Sayo have a sweet talk and decide to get chocolate parfaits before returning home. But when Persia arrives, her fairy friends are gone. Their final gift to her is the ability to use one last wish. What does she do with that wish? The show never tells us. She keeps her wish and spends her time enjoying life with Sayo and her friends until she can reunite with Gaku and Riki. Honestly, I love that ending. I love the friendship between Sayo and Persia. I love that the show doesn't force a romance beyond basic crush antics. And while the goodbye of the animal companions wasn't as impactful as it was in Creamy Mami, you could still feel the love left behind. I understand why Persia isn't as popular as Mami, but she's by far the most unique of the Studio Pierrot girls. I adore her.
Creamy Mami のルミナスターデビュー発表します変身パート2ハップルピンプルサムポップみんな応援して
Hey there, anime lovers! Are you craving some sweet and nostalgic conversations about your favorite shoujo series? Then look no further than SHOUJO SUNDAE. This podcast is your ultimate Sunday of all things shoujo, where each episode is packed with layers of heartfelt discussions, deep dives into classic and modern shoujo anime and manga, and a sprinkle of humor to top it all off. Every other Sunday, Gianna and Chica break down beloved series like A Sign of Affection, Fruits Basket, My Happy Marriage, and or on High School Host Club, sharing personal insights, fan theories, and behind-the-scenes trivia that you won't want to miss. Whether you're a seasoned shoujo enthusiast, or just dipping your spoon into the demographic, SHOUJO SUNDAE is the perfect companion for your anime journey. So grab your headphones and a bowl of your favorite ice cream, and join them for a treat that's both sweet and satisfying. I personally adored their episodes on Fruits Basket and Maid-sama. SHOUJO SUNDAE is my go-to podcast when traveling or getting chores done. I truly love their work. Tune into SHOUJO SUNDAE on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single scoop. Now, let's get back to the video.
ここはペルシャのお店屋さん、ペルコラブリンくるくるリンクル。欲しいものいっぱい、くるくるくるくる迷ってしまいます。ラブリーペルシャと魔法のペルシャストアです。へえ、信じらんない。
信じらんない。妖精の俺が言ってるんだからね。
だって妖精って感じしないんだもん。
Magical Emi is the third show on this list, and while Emi has fewer episodes than Persia and Mami, I think she's a memorable addition to the lineup. Mai is an aspiring magician, inspired by her family's Magic Carrot magical act. However, she's young and inexperienced, having a long way to go before she can become a great performer. Luckily for Mai, as she's dancing with her little brother, she spots a magical light that flies into a mirror. This light takes the form of a flying squirrel plushie and gives Mai an incredible power. But before she can use it, her grandma leaves! Everyone ditches her! They forgot to check to see if she was in the car. Oh my gosh! As she's chasing them down, she runs into the obvious love interest named Sho. He's a boxer, who makes a comment about her underwear. I will never like this joke in any show. Once she reunites with her grandparents, they immediately laugh at the fact that they left her behind and didn't notice, which is so mean. Regardless, the show goes on and we're treated to a variety of illusions and tricks. With magic, Mai turns into Emi and wows the crowd, officially making her magical debut in the following episode. Like Mami, Emi has to find a balance between her magical life and her normal one. The series is episodic and has a variety of performance, magic, and personal episodes. To compare her to Mami again, she actually becomes an idol, which I don't totally think the series needed, but Yuko Obata needed that idol promotion, I guess, so slay. Emi's the only voice acting role she's had, which is a shame because she does a good job here. I feel like I like the premise of Emi more than the show itself. A magician magical girl is such an amazing idea. I need a modern interpretation of this idea because it's so good. The only other show I can think of that has this premise kind of is Saint Tail, which I absolutely adore. But yeah, I need more magical girls. That just makes sense. Everyone thinks you're just an amazing performer, but bam, it's actually magic! With Emi though, it's just that the execution of this idea isn't fully what I wanted. The show is cute, silly fun, but I feel like everything Emi tries to do has been done better by Mami or Persia. The performance drama of Emi's life is not as engaging as Mami's, and the sillier episodes of Emi are not as insane as Persia's. She's a mix of both, which is fine. But she could have been so much more. That being said, I still enjoyed the show. One episode I liked was episode 14, Kote Marida's Flowery Stage. Mai has the chance to do her first solo act at the Big Bang, or so she thinks. She's actually performing on a smaller stage, but everyone at school thinks she's going to be a solo act on the Big Bang stage. This misunderstanding stresses her out so much that she becomes ill. So her mom, who used to be a performer herself, takes Mai's place. I love Mai's mother. She is such an icon and her husband holds her back. This lady's a legend. Mai does feel better and decides to perform, despite the venue not being what she initially wanted. The show must go on, and Mai learned that important lesson. The last 2 episodes are, say it with me, similar to Magical Angel Creamy Mommy's ending, which is not a bad thing, as I love that ending. At the end of episode 36, Emi wins a big magic contest, placing above the members of the Magikarp group. This should be a happy moment for her, but it isn't. Mai's life is about to change forever. The Magikarp group is disbanding, and Emi's wanted for a solo career. After looking at old films of her magical icon Emily, and practicing a trick her grandpa taught her over and over, Mai realizes that she wants to be a real magician without the help of Emi's magic. After one last performance as Emi, Mai returns her magic and pursues a magical career as herself. Her final scene with Topo made me tear up just a little.
パパ、私のマジックを見て。ずるいよトポ。さよならも言わせないなんて。
バカだな、失敗したくらいで。ほら、行くぞ。
Again, I think I like the premise of Emi more than the show itself. Mai is a likable mix of you and Persia. Topo is a good companion. The supporting cast ranges from great to alright, but Emi doesn't do a lot to stand out from her Pierrot sisters. So if we have a scale with Mami on one end and Persia on the other, and Emi in the middle, Yumi is between Emi and Persia. She's not an idol, despite the title of the anime saying she is. She's a normal girl who was granted powers after saving a dandelion, hence her flower-themed powers. This aesthetic mixed with her love for art makes for some creative wishes. But unlike the other girls, she has a time limit. Her magic can only last for a set amount of time before it vanishes.
ああ、もうダメです。
I would have preferred a different visual demonstration than a naked child, but you do you. And the show does this to poor Yumi in episodes 1 and 2. It's weird. With her furry elf companions Kakimaru and Kashimaru, Yumi goes on little episodic adventures where she has to think of the best ways to use her magic to fix whatever situation she's in within the set time limit of her magic. I love the idea of this restriction. Yumi has an extra layer of conflict that the other girls don't have. But this series is the shortest of the group, and honestly, there isn't much to the show I find memorable beyond the aesthetic and the iconic Miss Fukuro Koji. I know she's comic relief and is kind of annoying, but she's a rich plus-sized woman with good fashion and a butler, so I can't hate her. Legit, she is the only memorable character that isn't Yumi herself. The show has Yumi's parents, the older love interest that works at her parents' flower shop, a boy Yumi's age who likes her, Yumi's grandpa, the rich lady butler duo, and yeah, those are all the ones worth remembering. One episode that stuck out to me is episode 7, The Tearful Diet Journal. Yumi's dad makes a comment about a customer that is, interesting. Yumi, instead of calling them out on this weird behavior, wants to be objectified in the same way, but is quickly humbled.
何よ、二人とも。私だってほっそりとして清楚よ。
何言ってる。ユーミの手足なんか折ろうと思っても折れないぐらいしっかりしてるよ。
嫌よ、二人とも。
She is a child! That is your daughter! This comment from her father kickstarts Yumi's journey with dieting, which in her mind means not eating. That is not what it is, don't do that. Her parents immediately notice and actually have a super cute interaction talking about it.
オムレツは大好物のはずなんだけど。
確か昨日のおかずもオムレツだったんじゃないか。
あら、そうだったかしら。
よく考えると一昨日も確かオムレツ。
ピンポーン。
その前もオムレツ。
ピンポーン。
その前もオムレツ。
ブー。 その前はオムライスでした。
どうしていつも卵料理なんですか？
だって卵安かったからたくさん買ってあるのよ。毎日食べないとなくならないから。
それは分かってますけどね。ただユーミの食欲不振の原因がこの辺りにあるんじゃないかと思ってね。
この辺りにね。
決めた。明日の夕飯は僕が作ることにしよ
あなたが？
任しといてください。
They're so in love, I love it. Anyway, Yumi is losing energy from her lack of eating, but perks up when Kenta mentions that his older brother wants Yumi to come over. Unfortunately for her, it's to taste test parfaits. She does eat the parfaits, but immediately feels bad about doing so. She vows not to eat, but her family has prepared a wonderful dinner. During the meal, Yumi faints and has a nightmare where she's fat and everyone laughs at her. It's an uncomfortable scene to watch. The next morning, the parents discuss her odd behavior, but it quickly turns into a joke. They should be taking this a little more seriously, but I love how in love they are. Yumi decides to take up jogging, and Kyohei treats her to a drink, and asks her about her new hobby. But Yumi quickly gets her feelings hurt when he runs into a pretty girl. As she begins to run again, she runs into the iconic Miss Fukurokuji and her butler, who treat her to a meal after she faints. Yumi talks about Miss Fukurokuji's eating habits, and we get this gem of a scene.
当たり前でます。私はグルメですからね。これが一番の楽しみなのよ。
でもあんまり食べると太っちゃうでしょ。
誰が太ってるの？私ってとってもバランスの取れた体型してるでしょ。違う？
そうですね。太ってる太ってないっていうのは相対的な問題ですからね。象に比べりゃ奥様なんてカバにしか見えねえものな。可愛いもんだよ。
象やカバと一緒にするんじゃないのよ。
Not the brightest move on his part. After that, Yumi once again vows to lose weight and wants to live off one meal a day. As she's saying this, Kenta offers her cookies that he's baked, and she smacks them onto the ground. Poor little guy. Yumi breaks down and continues to run as she cries. Once she calms down, Yumi says she's going to run away from home, to guarantee she'll lose the weight without the judgment of her loved ones. Meanwhile, Kenta runs to her father and absolutely tells him off. This little guy deserves the biggest hug, I swear. They come up with a plan to make Yumi feel better about herself by staging a conversation where it seems like they're complimenting her without her knowledge. But they know she's watching. To thank them, Yumi decides to use her magic.
何するんですか？みんなに迷惑かけちゃったからごちそうしてあげようと思って。ごちそう？ごちそうだって魔法で出したものは消えちゃうんだぜ。そうですよ。食べたらお腹の中で消えちゃうんですよ。だからいいんじゃない。太ること気にしないでたくさん食べられるもの。そういえばそうですね。
That's a choice to end the episode on that note. I always admire when children's shows attempt to tackle deeper topics that the target audience could be struggling with or might struggle with in the future. Yumi did a good job at showing the audience how body image issues and eating disorders can originate from a single comment, and how starving yourself is not the way to lose weight. But the execution of making Yumi realize there's nothing wrong with her was not the best. There should have been a serious talk about how her behavior in this episode was dangerous and could lead to lifelong health problems. Compliments are always wonderful, and I think the idea of indirectly giving her praise is sweet, but that can only help so much. Her father should have apologized at the very least, and told her why what he said was wrong. Kenta is the only one who genuinely cared. The series finale is actually pretty interesting. In episode 24, a snowstorm has hit Flower Town. The power is out, the air is cold, and Yumi gets visions of dead flowers. Yumi uses her magic to try and help, but her magic doesn't work. When she returns home, her fairy friends tell her why she can't use magic, and that they need to return home. As the family plays cards... Oh my gosh, is that Emi? Yumi draws a portal to the flower world, and Kenta finds it. He gets transported too. The entire family gets transported. Everyone important gets transported. This final adventure to save the flower world is easily the highlight of the show, but it doesn't save Yumi from being the least good of the Pierrot girls. She has good episodes and I love the flower aesthetic, but this one is so forgettable. Evidently, Studio Pierrot thought so too, because they took a break from making original magical girls for over a decade. Before talking about the 5th Studio Pierrot magical girl, we have 2 crossovers to talk about. The first one isn't anything special minus the hot pot scene. Emi, Mami, and Persia are at a hot spring together, and the majority of the runtime is spent recapping their solo stories. Magical Girl Club Quartet Alien X from A-Zone is a different story. You, Persia, Mai, and Yumi seem to be in some sort of movie. We then cut to a tentacle monster who turns women old in a weird, strangly way.
That's disturbing.
I'm uncomfortable. Named Alien X, these government men decide that there's only one way to stop these creatures. One by one, each of the 4 girls is kidnapped in the most absurd but on-brand way for their characters. And they're begged to help solve the problem, but they can't use their powers anymore. Right?
そうしよう。だって私たちもう魔法使えないんだもんね。寂しい。
As quickly as they're kicked out, the girls are chased by Alien X. The girls are surrounded, and the camera loses signal. So we cut to commercial. That's my bit. Anyway, we cut back to the girls, and a flash of light helps them escape. The girls are given one last chance to use their magic and save women from becoming old. I love how Mami, Emi, and Persia are all somewhat adult-like, and then Yumi is just stuck being a kid. She does make them cool suits though. The girls decide to fight the main body of the monster without deciding on a plan. This thing is gross looking, by the way, but the action here is pretty fun. I love when they combine the power of their wands together. Cool concept and cooler explosion. They continue to fight, and it seems about halfway through the special that they've won. However, when they return to Earth, they're greeted by the Studio Pierrot logo. What? They're being messed with, and the alien still isn't gone. But the girls keep being their cheery selves as they go their separate ways. The film is now complete, and this time, the girls have to fight for real. The rest of the OVA is just recaps of the 4 series featured, but with music only. At least the other one had character voiceovers. Magical Girl Club Quartet is nothing special, but it's fun to see Yumi, Mai, Persia, and Yu together. I'm sure the tentacle monsters led to fan creations of varying concern, but I'm glad the girls have a fun little crossover. But wait! We're not done. Back in Persia's section, I mentioned a little show called Minky Momo. She is a staple of magical girl anime. But did you know she crossed over with Creamy Mami? In a short crossover, these 2 80s icons fight to the death. It's such a fun short. And with that, we can move on to the last Studio Pierrot magical girl. Going back to the year 1988, Studio Pierrot released an OVA called Fashion Lala. It's about a girl named Miho who wants to be a fashion designer, but she's a little too young to enter the contest of her dreams. Magical hijinks ensue, and yeah, it's a fine 40-ish minutes of entertainment. It's not super important to this video, but it is the blueprint for what eventually became 1998's Fancy Lala. The first episode opens with a weird dream sequence, where this Redditor-looking guy gives some 5th grade philosophy speech that me and the girls probably had at a random sleepover in 2012.
Future, we always want to know what tomorrow will bring for us.
Tomorrow?
As for the past, we're always wondering where yesterday went.
Yesterday?
Time that we have spent in the past is gone and is nowhere to be found. In that case, we have to ask, does the time we've spent until now have any meaning to it at all?
The dream continues to be weird until our lead girl finally wakes up. This is Miho Shinohara. She's a carefree elementary student who dreams of being a manga artist. The episode establishes quickly that she is loved, but her family is far too busy to give her any major attention on a daily basis. They still try though. This dynamic feels like home to me. Anyway, while running to school, Miho spots the same dinosaurs from her dream. Taro, the boy who clearly likes her, can't see them, so looks like we're getting some magical hijinks soon. Once Miho gets to school, everyone goes to their new classes and Miho's teacher gets absolutely roasted.
Do you have a girlfriend, teacher?
No, actually, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have time for one. I'm too much in love with my work.
Oh, I forgot to mention that this is the only show in this video that has an English dub. I know some of you prefer dubs, and this one is really good for the time. It's an Animax Asia dub that was licensed by Bandai, and it doesn't change much from the original Japanese. The opening is still Japanese, which I love! The Fancy Lala opening is the catchiest song I've ever heard, and I adore it. Back to the episode, Miho goes to a toy shop after school and is accused of thievery. But the philosophy major from before pays for the little dinosaur toys, saying she'll need them. If you haven't guessed already, these adorable creatures are Miho's magical fairy friends, Pigu and Mogu, called Pog and Mog in the dub. I don't know if I love that. They are tied with Mommy's cats as my favorite companions. I think they are absolutely precious and I need plushies of them immediately. Pigu and Mogu give Miho the power to become an older version of herself and draw any outfit she desires. Side note, someone give me this pen necklace. I would wear that every day. After a quick boob check, Miho goes to the upstairs garden and talks about her dreams with her new friends.
Miho Shinohara receives magic from a couple of funny fairies. Huh? So now, what am I gonna do with all this magic?
In the next episode, Miho decides to go out and enjoy her new adult look. Cut to Lyrical Productions, and they seem to have lost their model. And Miho, going by the name Lala, is scouted to not only model, but to become an idol. With this setup, we get the typical magical idol and personal sets of episodes, but unlike Creamy Mami, Fancy Lala handles character dynamics and plot lines with a bit more maturity. My favorite episode showcasing Fancy Lala's mature storytelling is episode 15, The Dream Will Never End. Lala runs into Tape, Yumi's son, while at work. Yumi is the president of Lyrical Productions, and she's the one to first discover Lala. She is such a girl boss and I love her voice in the dub. It's very calming. Anyway, Tape lives with Yumi's ex-husband and is just trying to navigate healthy co-parenting. The first half of the episode is Yumi and her son enjoying a wonderful day together. It's really sweet, but things get a little awkward when Tape mentions that his dad has met someone else. Learning about the concept of divorce, Miho begins to worry if her own parents will separate. As Lala, she asks Yumi some follow-up questions about her divorce, and she gives a very mature answer.
At this point in time, Lala, you are my treasure.
Huh?
A very precious treasure. But this much I can tell you. Not everything in this world goes the way that you wish it would. In fact, there are probably more disappointments than anything. But it's important that one continues believing in the path that one decides to take.
But
It's rude to poke your nose any further into people's personal affairs.
Despite Yumi's amazing answer, Miho continues to worry about her parents potentially getting a divorce, despite the fact that her parents are doing just fine. The next day, Lala gets to chat with Tape, and he truly seems fine with the co-parenting setup since they're happier apart than together.
I don't know, Lala, but for some reason the two of them always used to fight when they were living together. Now it's so much better because both of them are always happy all the time and smiling, and I'm really happy whenever I hear my mom laughing.
Again, such a mature answer. Lala, learn and take a hint. Accidentally leaving her friends behind, Pigu and Mogu end up in the care of Tape. Cutting back to Miho, she's talking to her older sister about Tape's situation, and she has this to say.
You know, it was both Mom and Dad's decision to get married in the first place. So there's the possibility that at some point they could decide to get divorced, Miho.
Huh?
But if that ever were to happen, I know they would put a lot of thought into what would be best for us and what would make us happy in the long run.
The episode ends with one last scene with Yumi and her ex-husband being supportive of each other's successes in life, even if it's not with each other. I love that this episode gives the audience an example of people who are divorced, yet can still show kindness to one another. Falling out of love with the person who was once your whole world, and even created a child with, sounds like one of the most heartbreaking situations a person can go through. But this episode shows the kids who are watching that divorce doesn't mean eternal unhappiness. Sometimes people aren't compatible anymore, and if both parties can come to terms with that, they can improve their quality of life. Both Yumi and Kishi take great care of their son. They love him so much, yet they still follow their dreams and find love that will hopefully last. They deserve to be happy. I can't say enough how much I love this episode. Episodes like this one could never be in the previous shows. Fancy Lala is so good at handling mature topics like divorce. It makes me wish that the show lasted longer. Of course, all good things must come to an end. The last 3 episodes of Fancy Lala prepare us to say goodbye to these characters. Lala's live debut is coming up, and everyone is excited, except for Lala herself.
Be stunned too if it was my first concert.
But guys, do you think it's really that big of a deal to have a concert?
What do you mean? It's your first big audience, your live debut!
You've got the enthusiasm level of a fence post.
How dare you come in here and be so negative when we've been so excited for you about this?
She's right!
Do you have any idea how many hours we've slaved trying to make this concert a reality?
But you haven't done anything, Rurika. Why did you punch me like that?
Did I mention I love the cast? I really love the main and supporting characters in Fancy Lala. Everyone has such good chemistry. Anyway, the fear is setting in and Lala, or Miho, is questioning her future as a performer, and as Lala in general.
Guys, what's Lala's future gonna be like?
Huh?
What I mean is that in a few years from now, when I become about the same age as Lala, what do you think is gonna happen to her? Will Lala grow older too?
Well,
Honestly, that's a valid question. Awful comments from the press and her dance instructor makes her decide that she wants to quit being Lala altogether. As she discusses this with her dinosaur friends, Philosophy Man makes yet another appearance to give nonsensical wisdom.
You see that up there? I wonder if the star twinkling right above us high in the sky can see that we're watching it shine. It probably has no idea that it has an audience tonight, and yet it doesn't matter. It shines beautifully all the same.
With newfound confidence, Miho gives everyone she cares about tickets to see Fancy Lala's first concert. The day of her concert arrives and she gives a spectacular performance. The next day, everyone celebrates. Lala's concert was so well received that she books 10 times the work. Life seems perfect until she loses her backpack. The next day, she skips school to look for her backpack, but it doesn't seem to be turning up. Without her bag, which had her transformation pen and sketchbook, she can't transform into Lala, meaning she can't work. Pigu and Mogu tried to create duplicates for Miho, but something goes wrong and they vanish. In the final episode, Miho says her goodbyes to the lyrical production staff. At sunset, the mystery man returns once more, and she tells him about what happened. He once again yaps about whatever, and Miho asks about the powers.
Can I ask you a question?
If you like.
Why did you give me those magical powers?
No reason, really.
Oh. Well, now it looks like I've gone and lost everything you gave me. Mystery Man, aren't you angry?
Everyone's different. Some find the magic too overwhelming for them. Some rely too much on the magic and eventually fail. Some throw it away, thinking they don't need it and it's a waste of time. People vary. Losing the magic is just another way.
Losing the magic is a way to what? What do you mean?
Well, farewell, Miho.
The rest of the episode just lingers on this feeling of loss as Miho slowly gets back to her normal life. The series ends with a sweet moment with Miho and Komi discussing the mystery man as Komi styles her hair. He makes the connection that Miho and Lala are one and the same. He tells her to smile, because one day she won't need magic to be the real Lala. Unlike the previous shows in this video, I really love that Fancy Lala has more of a balance of fun stories and emotional ones. Out of all the Studio Pierrot magical girls, Lala has the most heart, and by far the best storytelling, yet it's an outlier. She came a decade later and somehow didn't reignite Studio Pierrot's magical girl brand. There was a lot more competition in the 90s than the 80s. Shows like Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Ojimajo Doremi dominated the scene, so Fancy Lala, despite how amazing I think it is, was bound to be overshadowed by such big series that are still well loved to this day. When making this video, this is where the story originally ended. But on June 29th, 2024, a huge announcement was made. Studio Pierrot has revealed that they are making a new original magical girl anime. The 38-second trailer quickly establishes all of the iconic girls we've discussed in this video, before teasing the next installment. I am so excited! If you haven't seen the shows already, I hope this video has prepared you for this upcoming release. Thanks for watching, and let me know what Studio Pierrot magical girl is your favorite. Lala, Mami, and Persia are all amazing to me, but Emi and Yumi have good qualities too. Remember to subscribe for more cute content, and to follow me on my other social media. Troop on Hopelets, stay adorkable. Bye!